Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this is the start of our third and final arc for Godbound. And we've done two previous arcs of this. You can see those on my YouTube channel. It's a good a couple dozen sessions there, building up over time. Our characters are just at level 7 in Godbound, which is pretty high along. What we're doing today is kind of a session 0, kind of prologue, setting the table session for what has happened, where people are at, bringing in a new character, and talking about what things are in the cards, what things are out there to be dealt with, and where everybody is at. So the basic story is that our 4 characters met. They joined Captain Ransom on Captain Ransom's ship. They traveled south along the waterways. This is a world of islands. Even our sort of larger masses on our map are very large islands with different zones on them, but it is a area that is broken up by the seas. So the seas and water are very important. There are a couple of structural facts to realize about the world. One is that this zone, the area that you are in, is very much in the center. Everything else kind of revolves around that. And until recently, within the last 30 so years, last several decades, it was cut off from the rest of the continental lands. There are 3 major empires that lie outside. One is to the west and north is the Empire of Ghosts. To the south and west lies the Empire of Iron. And to the south and east lies the Empire of Hours. Now, between the Empire of Iron and the Empire of Hours, there's a large area there that's kind of free lands and such. But this is a world where the gods are dead. There were gods, lots of gods in this world, and then people started to figure out how to use divine and theocratic technologies. They started to build those. They started to figure out how to make their own gods. They started to figure out how maybe they could break up into heaven. And that resulted in a horrible series of wars centuries ago that killed off the gods, that broke the heavens, also broke a lot of the machinery that was left behind. No one did well from this war. There were no like triumphant mage kings. They all got trashed in this as well. One of the dangerous things that still exists in this world that sometimes appear are these things called night roads. Night roads are essentially extensions of the overworld, of the links to other places, to bad divine realms that bleed through sometimes. And sometimes bad things come out of them. But there's still a lot of old lore and rumors and things about the gods and about these wars and stuff and magicians and things. But it has been in the age of RPCs that people have begun to be born with these divine words, with these divine gifts. It's not clear why. It's not clear how this is happening, what is going on, what that means. But they are starting to extend their powers. They're starting to run into the other big supernatural things that still exist in this world. They're starting to encounter one another. And that's changing things. For our continent here in the center, the problem is that they have these 3 empires that lie on the outside that now see this beautiful, verdant, untapped land in the center and are starting to push their agendas that way. So that is one of the problems. Our characters on the boat with Captain Ransom, ran into a person who had some supernatural gifts, who had manipulated things in the cities of Lansana, East and West Lansana, and had created a whole series of problems. And I'm shortening this because there were several stages to it, but the bottom line is that they wrecked him, uh, and they also caused, let us say, significant damage to the civil infrastructure of both cities. But they removed this sorceress, dangerous figure. That was after some time. Uh, After that, they headed to an island called Bishala because of the rumored assassin's library. And they went and found an island that has, a small village. It has a small jungle to it. It has docks and things like that. It is very much a freebooter, swashbuckler place. But there are also these alligators that live in the river that goes inside that have some divine power. And in
Crocodiles.
this, pardon? Crocodiles, sorry, crocodiles. In this,
Seawater.
this is one of those places where we're using material from Thousand Islands. So you may recognize some of those concepts here. The group went to the Assassin's Library and found out that this library is actually like a whole bunch of different buildings and libraries and fonts of information that were rescued during the God War and jammed together. So it is very much Gormengastian, labyrinth, like no one knows where everything is. No two parts of the place are the same. And it could house thousands of people. It only houses a few hundred people, if that. They kind of keep scholars out, though they have people from the villages who do transcriptions and things. Eventually, they found out that these assassins are actually assassins that are still active. Some of the assassins, one of the orders is devoted to killing people. One of the order of assassins is devoted to killing magical things, and one of the orders of assassins is devoted to killing concepts. And they kind of exist there. There is a lot of the kind of the back and forth that has gone on between the different orders and the group kind of figuring out their place within the realm of these assassins in this library. Uh, the other big thing that occurred with this, once they'd gotten settled into the library, was they paddled two different big supernatural forces. One of them was in the deep jungles, in a place called Temple. They found a pyramid after they had gone through a valley with how do I put this? A blood queen. And by that I mean like ticks kind of blood queen.
Yeah. For
Who
a blood queen, she was okay.
She was okay.
It's
Uh,
okay.
but they went in, they were able to deal with a couple of the faces of this pyramid. They found out that there were four corrupted elemental things, corrupted dark forces of the world that were out there. Uh, they were able to deal with one of them, uh, 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 and they were able to kind of seal away another two. The the sort of avatar of blood and the avatar of oceans, I believe, are the ones that are kind of held back for the moment. I may have the precise details wrong, but generally there were two of them that were kind of held away. There's one of them that's definitely still out there, and that is this avatar of the dark earth, this force of the dark jungles and so on, who has messed around with the group. So there was some interactions figuring out what was going on there. They found the fourth figure was out and was the kind of avatar force of dark storms. And the group dealt with this sort of a storm giant, cloud giant forces that had these ships that were wrecking things. They were able to, after a big fight, deal with those. They met some interesting people in the course of that, merchants, some people from the Empire of Ghosts, things like that, that went on before they were able to return back. Now, I'm going to take a slug of my soda here, and then I'm going to give you the most brief version of what is immediately on the agenda. So there were several problems that the group faced, even as they were working to build up their authority, build up their influence, develop this university that they had built, that they had created. I'm leaving a lot out in this. But there were several threats and things that still kind of remain on the table for the group. Number one, in the city known as Geznaki, at the bottom part of the map, in the sort of island area, which is called Arwen Shah, there is a dragon that spews undead around that area. And the populace, some of the people from there have reached out and begged for assistance to deal with this foe, with this force. That is one of the things that is on the table. Another thing that is on the table is that area of Arwenshaw is adjacent to the other area called Gesnia, and that's actually the landmass that your assassin's library is closest to. And the people from Gesnia have essentially told you not to interfere with affairs in Arwenshaw. And there's some things going on with that. Tassos decided that one of the best things to do after they made an agreement to kind of, remain temporarily neutral regarding Gesnia would be to send his two wards through the dream into the capital of Gesnia. They have not been heard from since. Just putting that out there as another issue that is kind of on the table. So we've got this dragon. We've got what's going on in Gesnia. We have the Dark Earth figures. And then the last one is that our heroes, our gods, were contacted by people from Shansint, this nation down there to the west of Arwenshaw. And they came and said, we'll worship you. We will help you. We want you to join with, we want you to be our gods. We want to give you all the good stuff. Because we've got these barbarian murder gods who are running around our land. And the group was like, this sounds sus, but we will come and check out what's going on. And they went, and it went from sus to non-sus a couple of times. What it eventually came out is that this place, Shansint, is a very old nation. It has very old forms. They have 7 great cities that are on the coast, and that they kind of treat the people who live on the inlands on the land as kind of second-class citizens. And that's an issue. And as a result, there's been a rebellion, and there is this new pantheon that we have pictures for in the thing has kind of crossed paths with our pantheon. And our pantheon has kind of figured out that this is going on, that the part of the reason that these people are murder gods right now is because of a history of poor treatment and historical structural issues and so on. And where we had left off at the end of the very last game was with a kind of detente between this our hero pantheon and this enemy gods, that with the idea that this enemy pantheon would join itself to our PC pantheon, and would do that formally, that there would be a marriage of some point to join that pantheon together. The details of that at that point left kind of undetermined at that moment. That is the big picture version. I am leaving out so much, but it doesn't really matter because this is a fun fantasy game and we'll just make up whatever we want. So I kind of don't care. But that's what we're building on here. So we've thrown a lot at you, Ethan, including what the characters are right now. So I guess I would ask you if there's anything in terms of words or character types that as we've been going through this sounds interesting or appealing to you.
I have had like 4 different ideas and discarded each of them in turn.
Okay.
Just
That's
in the time
absolutely
that
fair.
y'all have been talking. So now I'm trying to come up with a 5th one.
One of the things I would recommend is take one word that is your ass-kicking combat word.
Okay.
I would pick one word for that, like sword or one of those things, or strength.
Okay.
Those often give a bonus to a stat as well, which is super nice. I would take one of those at least.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion. But what do other people think, things that you looked at and didn't take that you thought were cool, or anything you want to throw there? Tyler, what about you?
Off the mute there. I'm actually kind of looking through things right now. It would be neat to have sword. It is cool. I don't think anybody took wealth, and that has some neat stuff.
True.
There's some thoughts on the. I think dancing's neat if you have a concept that works with it. I think dancing and music are both really interesting.
There are a bunch of really interesting ones. Vengeance, sorcery. There are some cool things out there.
I think one of the things that's handy is to think of what's your ass kicking thing, but the other thing is what's your paradigm for solving a problem other than ass kicking. So if that makes any sense. So you
Right.
want to choose something that's kind of like, hey, what's your view on the world?
Right. Evedro
Yeah.
corrects people when it can't
Yes.
go to violence. Threadless builds something.
Yes.
Tassos scares them, and Ransom charms them. Like those are their alternate
Okay.
non-violence.
Okay.
And I'll say they're the 3 sort of very physical words. There's what is alacrity,
Might.
endurance, and might. I think it's very worth it to have one of those 3.
Okay.
They are neat.
Yeah, I'm looking at these the list in here. Where can I find descriptions of what the gifts actually like, of what they are?
Oh, actually, let me see. Hold that
The
up.
words. Oh yeah. So
I've got
we-
that in the folder. Hang on.
there's a
It'd be
The
the
place
core
on the
book
internet that you can-
PDF and the lexicon PDF.
Right.
I
The
have the
main
core
book,
book.
it's page 31, starts the words of creation. And on the lexicon, it's page get over to it real quick. It's page 12.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see here. Let me pull up the folder.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Da, 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 da. Here is the folder that has all the gifts, all the sorcery, and then all of the ones from the lexicon of the throne words.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice. Just cutouts of the word sections.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, health is interesting. Just make people die of plague all the time.
Health is
That's
pretty
a hell of a weapon.
badass.
Yep.
Yeah, the words often or sometimes will encompass their opposite. Like
Mhm.
Tassos
Yeah.
is a god of fear, but some of that has to do with making people stronger against fear.
It seems like all the ones I've looked at so far have an ass kicking gift within them. I'm
Yes.
sure there are some that don't, but
Yeah. And that's actually worth looking at. Like when I played, I remember I took Alacrity and Night, and I was just with those two was pretty
yeah,
pretty effective. Yeah, it's very easy to build a lot of cool stuff off of this, and you're going to have lots of points to choose the most interesting stuff to you.
Sky, you can just zap people with lightning. Nice.
I would make sure to leave yourself with some slots for weird and interesting gifts, though. You know, not just go with all the battle ones, because we definitely this is not a battle sim.
My first inclination is, even in the words, is to just pick some weird ones and see how they combine and like try to come up with an explanation for that.
Absolutely.
I definitely didn't spend a lot of early campaign backwards justifying walking nightmare as a concept.
Yeah. One of the other things I'll mention as something that eventually you people do is you'll notice that everybody has facts listed. These are kind of like aspects that they get to assign to themselves to give themselves bonuses on, mostly on skill checks later on. But you're also going to get a set of power that you're going to be able to spend kind of as we play that is dominion and influence. And one of them allows you to kind of on the fly change reality. Like, I want this farm to be fertile, and that has a certain amount of energy that you get to distribute. It's based on like how big an effect you want, how powerful, for how many points it costs. But as long as you have that influence spent there, that effect will be in place. That's how you kind of do blessings to places in general. The other one that you have allows you to do that permanently. So you can put a curse on a city forever and spend those points to do that. You're going to have those things in your back pocket. The other thing you're going to be able to do is perform miracles, which are basically on the fly spending of your power to echo another gift or do a particular thing. So there's a lot of resources to do a lot of wild stuff in Godbound, even though it's OSR at its root.
Yeah.
Our palette that we had before, just to remind everybody,
Oh yeah.
we had our basic premises, which I've kind of gone over. palette of things we'd like to see. Robust cosmopolitan cities, other Godbound or pseudo Godbound, sea travel, ocean stuff, resonating divine sights, large fantasy beasts, parentheses, house sized, folklore and legends, intrigue and politics. We've hit a lot of those things in the course of our play.
Okay.
For lines and veils, just so we're because we're just starting again, we are continuing on from before, but again, we're using the X card, we're using the open door policy, and then we have a set of lines and veils. We have lines right now on dental horror, harm to children, homophobia, sexual assault, and then veils on eye injuries, harm to animals, suicide, and torture. And then ask first for epidemics, mind control, PC betrayal, and sexual content. And of course, that is a living document, so we will check in on that.
Okay. Kind of have an idea here. Let me see if I can find words that make sense with it.
So,
This
why
guy in
don't
Hellfest
I
makes sense.
check in with our other players, how they're imagining their characters have been, what they've been up to in the last few months while you're looking at those words, and then I come back to you. Does that seem cool? I want to give you a little bit of time to process here. Captain Ransom, here is how I imagine that we're framing this up. You have made a deal with essentially Sedenia, the Demon Queen, with her pantheon, that she will yoke her pantheon to yours, but she clearly wants some kind of joining to occur. And she is willing to come to terms with that at some point. I mean, she has spoken of a marriage.
Yeah.
But she has agreed to hold back her attacks in Shanxint until this can be put together and until a more comprehensive solution can be brought. The sense you get certainly is that in numbers and power, she recognizes that an open fight with you four, and I think we saw this before, was going to cost both sides dearly, but probably her side more, which is why she had made that offer. So in our kind of framing of this, figuring out exactly how that's going to get solved with Shanxint and the marriage is not like priority one. That's like, we don't have to immediately solve that. It is there is a clock on it, and we might bring some of those characters in as NPCs or whatnot. We'll figure out about that, but that into the college. But that's basically where that's at. Does that seem fair, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we kind of come to an agreement between both our pantheons that we were not happy with the caste structure and how that kingdom was set up.
Right.
That needed to be changed.
Yeah. And they you have the agreement of Shanxint. They agreed that if you solved the problems, the attacks, that they would turn their temples and churches over to you. So folding Sedania and her pantheon into that, actually, you believed would solve that problem in the long run. Maybe not with them being particularly pleased about the solution, but there's a solution. So what do you think? We'll imagine that a little bit of time has passed. You have returned back to the Assassin's Library. What do you think that Ransom has been up to for the last month or two?
I think that there has been looking into. I think the dragon was something we had kind of seen as a priority.
Yeah.
I think
and
that,
to remind you about your encounters with the dragon.
Mhm.
So you knew that the dragon was operating there in that city in Arwenshad, had attacked various places and had taken over, had destroyed the royal family of Arwenshah, and had turned lots of things to undead. You also had the sense that Gesnia, who had been kind of at war with Arwenshah, doesn't really care. Like they believe clearly that this dragon is going to go away in some way and that they will be able to step into the breach. That was your impression from them.
Okay. And that's the kingdom or the political place that we're a part of.
Yeah, that you're paying some. Well, there's been a kind of a bargain about that. But the other thing is that the dragon had sent his force through into the tombs that lie under the assassin's library and had stolen a bunch of generals and their weapons that had been buried and locked away there. You managed to stop that from happening again, and that's in fact how Unsunning came. He is you're not sure if he's a child or a fragment or a proto version of, but he is connected to the dragon in some way, though he doesn't think he is now. Like he thinks he's something else.
Right. So yeah, I think that I will at least be trying to get some information on how things are in the city with the dragon, through various means of like having birds that will do some spying, some, the sea creatures, and just to get a little tabs, just to see where we're looking at.
Absolutely, everyone is dead.
Everyone is dead. Oh my
dragon
gracious.
Spews on death. People have fled back. And as you may recall, there have been various prayers from people in Arwenshah, and you've kind of helped them arrange their migration and fallback and retreats to safer positions. But that whole region around there. And the thing is, everyone is dead, but they are still walking around. It is a mockery of a human city there.
That's just terrible. And I also will be spending some time with Leisha, to, strengthen our friendship.
Then I think there is one question that is on Leisha's mind at some point that will come up in the couple of months there, though she tries not to ask it. But eventually she kind of has to ask it. She will say, so there's going to be some kind of marriage between your pantheon and...
That seems to be something that they've intimated. Yes. Obviously it won't be me now. I knew that. No.
And she pauses and says, then who?
Well, that is the question. I'm not sure, but and I'll kind of sheepishly look at her. But my heart lies elsewhere.
And she does, you see her kind of in her practical way, she does say, I do know that. I do. But if not you, then who?
Well, I mean, looking at their pantheon, I would think Tassos is a natural to be married into someone there. I mean, I could see them getting along well.
I believe the first part of what you said, but I don't believe the second part of what you said.
It will be a negotiation between us all, but I don't see why it by necessity has to be B.
Good.
I'll kind of perk up at that. Wonderful.
Threadless, what do you think you've been up to in the last couple of months here?
I think I've been trying to figure out as much about this fallen angel monarch of Gesnia as I can. Stuff from, and I know that there is a hunt for the twins, and all of that stuff. So it's not that I'm going in there, but trying to get as much intelligence as I can from people who've been to Gesnia, and that, and then also about the dragon. Again, these are the next two things we're going after, and I need both of them gone. So, and I also want to know what on Sonic's actual, like, what is going to happen.
What do you mean for that last part? I don't quite understand.
How tied he is to the dragon.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how to find out.
So,
but I will work on figuring it.
One of the things that you have picked up is that this ruler in Gesnia has, established very simple, very practical temples, essentially a cult of the divine king, which is, very classic, and he has laid claim to basically the souls in the area. And this was a conversation I believe we had before about that. What is it you want to know about him?
Like claim to the souls. Does that mean that he's created an afterlife?
Yes.
Like the afterlife that I created?
Yes. And to remind you, sort of narratively in the fiction of things is when people die, if they are not attached to a god, or if they're attached to a god now that doesn't really have an afterlife, their souls go into the water that runs under the world. And it goes into there and they are washed in that and then eventually come back on the cycle of rebirth. But Threatless, you've created an afterlife and you have the people who have given you faith, who have passed on, can go there. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that this angel has set up a similar thing where he is at.
Is he a tyrant? What sort of ruler is he? There's this whole like fallen angel thing, which doesn't sound like a good thing. That's usually a super broken creature, but
he is a fallen angel because all the gods are dead. That is one of the things is that these are dangerous theocratic creations. Angels aren't creatures like dragons or things like that. They are constructs from the gods made to do things. Well, the gods are gone, and these things have their own kind of free will now, and they are operating under potentially very different programming.
Can I discern what his particular programming is? A list of things? Oh, what?
I think that's for a little bit further on, but I think I can give you that. Does that seem fair?
Yes, it does.
Professor Vedra may be able to assist with this as well.
All right. Well, I wanted to get those questions out of the way, just to get us some sense, because I'm coming for him. So.
Absolutely. Tassos, what have you been up to over the last couple of months?
So, just to I've been looking through and trying to lay out the different storylines and stuff. There's Delek and Dala that we talked about, and I do think that's gonna eat up a lot of his attention, but I'll come back to that.
I think you will know that you can't contact them, but you know that they're still alive, and you know that they are not suffering, which may make you even a little more nervous.
There's Nuan Lao out there still, who, as I remember, I really messed things up with at the end.
Yeah.
She had agreed to go look for the twins.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't heard from her.
And even though we are not happy with each other, or at least she's not happy with me, I'm a god. I can allow these sort of vagaries in people. She still has that shape-shifting were creature blessing / curse.
Yes.
And I picked up a new gift along here. It's a greater one of fear, the coward inside. And the main thing I like about it is you can use the senses of any creature has ever failed a morale check you induced or been similarly frightened by you, perceiving all they perceive without their conscious awareness of your presence. You can also spend effort to pop up behind them, which could be funny. But there's I've got the gift where anyone I've seen before, I can look in and on their dreams and see what's going on in their dreams, and that's sort of how I was building the growing dream web before. And now there's this added thing of once I'm in someone's dreams and I can cause them a nightmare. Once I've frightened them, then I can see through them in the waking world and start spreading that way. So I think Tassos has been spending a lot of time basically slowly seeping their sight and dream influence, across the sea to the shores of Gezia and into the country further and further as they can. That is, rather than letting it spread naturally or letting the remaining dream skippers do that, they've been spending a lot of effort, intentionally pushing that as fast as they can to try and get eyes into the country, to try and trace down anything about the twins, which I realized I haven't in the meantime.
You want to establish that as a fact?
Yeah.
Like seeping into the dreamscape of Gesnia, or invested in the dreamscape of Gesnia, something like that.
I like that. And then the other thing is I've been saving up Dominion for quite a while.
Mhm.
I want to do something crazy with it. I'd sort of talked about it before, where I have enough to do something impossible over a province / a million people sort of area, which I figure is enough to get our island and sort of the coastal basin that we're set in, maybe, like right along the coast there.
Sure.
Where people's suppressed fears and anxieties and things they haven't worked through start manifesting as living nightmares that press more and more into the real world, that confront them with these things. There is an element of they're certainly scary. There's an element of danger to them. I don't think they're deadly by necessity. But it'll definitely give the cat assassin something to do. And I think the idea is at the end of it, like, if you deal with this dream nightmare manifestation, there is a sort of like having gone through therapy, emotional growth effect on the other end. But I have this already this Dominion field going on over the island where people aren't as afraid of weird magic. So as these dreams start to like press into the real world, that maybe they won't be inherently terrified of them, but of course scared of the things that scare them, because that's what they are. They're nightmares.
But let me get this straight, if I can.
Okay, cool.
Now I understand you've created on the island itself some protection from fear, and so maybe you're one of the things is you are overlaying Dominion that you've already spent, and kind of negating your own thing there on the island if you're putting the effect there. In some ways, or at least it's going to be a weird set of things happening with that. But let's set that aside for the moment. If I heard you correctly, you wish to use your gift of giving nightmares, which is part of your main purview, and you wish to cause that such that your monsters of the id effectively is going to affect everyone within 1,000 miles there on the coastline and a good chunk of Gesnia, and their fears and nightmares will manifest in the real world.
A watered down versions of monsters of the id, not sending like deadly slavering creatures against people, but yeah, basically yes.
In a place that's like war-torn, that's and haunted
Not,
by undead dragons.
Gesnia
Is that
isn't
the area?
war-torn. Gesnia
Well, Gesnia isn't, yeah.
is
but
under
is it-
a stable
I swear.
monarchy.
So, okay, well, if that's
What? This is interesting. What is your intent? Like what is it you want to have happen there? I see the action, but I'd like to know what you're imagining is going to be the end point of that.
Like I said, my sort of idea for the end of the process is that there is a like emotional growth / dealing with trauma, having gone through like professional therapy sort of aspect to it, where if the people work through this psyche battle with their nightmare, their fears or whatever, that they work through it in a way, or that if like they have to get someone to come in and deal with them, like it will push those fears and those feelings away for a while.
Okay. And I think because you're phrasing it that way, that is the kind of thing that can happen. Of course, there are going to be a percentage of people for whom that's going to be bad, and
this is a big, weird, untested magic thing, and Tassos is not the most careful or detail-oriented god.
Absolutely. So this is, I think, would be fair to say, because you're trying to keep it controlled rather than just, hey, the nightmares come out. I think this is a ×4, so 16 points.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Then it begins to happen there, and your cats will begin to have a lot more things to go out and chase.
32 and 64 are the next breakpoints for upping this to encompass the entire world eventually.
Gets more difficult because then you're starting to run into certain places. One of the things is that your Dominion and stuff like that. Also, there are places that have Mundus wards and things like that where you don't, that are stopped by that. But
I
in
was
general,
sort of
yeah.
thinking about that and the interest of, like, you know, sort of this Dominion effect going out, but there being holes in it. And in a long term, like, Tassos would go out and try and work around some of those or find, you know, that's their story going forward.
Let me ask you one question. Just one question before I go to Professor Vedro. Do you tell your colleagues what you have done?
Probably once it starts working. They'll be very proud of it.
So the answer is no. You have not yet told your colleagues what you have done, right?
Warn no.
There we go. Professor Vedro.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can anyone else see the manifestations, or only the person for whom the fear is real?
That's a good question.
I think they get realer and realer. I think there is a
the less
sort
you
of
deal
like,
with them.
Yeah, over days or weeks, they become more and more manifest in the real world, and after they pass a threshold, they start to become visible to other people.
Well, here's the thing. Monsters, the Id is visible. Like the monsters that you create there are visible. So it is visible in the real world.
But I do think there's sort of like inklings, hallucinations, sort of premonitions before it fully comes over and other people can see it.
Okay. Professor Vedra.
The reason why I ask is because I think I went to Gesnia as part of an envoy, as in the sort of hopes to kind of keep our diplomatic relations. It was not wise to send me in the short version, but to keep our diplomatic relations kind of on an even keel. I wonder if Threadless and I sort of coordinated a little bit. So I went under the guise of maybe either helping to establish a new branch of the university, or to kind of evaluate their current higher education system with my bureaucracy word, and just sort of get a sense of what's going on in terms of the system there. And also trying to get a sense of, through that, to a lesser extent, trying to understand the fallen angel. Knowing Vedro, he's far more consumed with the minutia of the education and not sort of the big political machinations that are happening.
Absolutely. The angel is teaching all the kids sorcery. They have big institutes set up right now for teaching them several different forms of sorcery. And you will definitely have the sense that when you're there, that it is not like there is a fallen angel monarch, but he clearly has others with them, other angels there.
He has other angels on the faculty, essentially.
Yes, operating there as well.
So disappointing. This is not a well-rounded education.
No, not at all. They're not taught anything. They're sorted into these 4 houses at the start. It's a system of tracking, and that doesn't work.
That never works. No.
And they're not taught anything else besides sorcery.
And of course, all the nightmares are running around.
Not in the capital, though.
Not in the capital.
or even the area around the capital. In fact, people are flooding to the capital because it is one of the places that is safe from these nightmares that are
Free from
affecting.
nightmares. So
Yeah,
now nightmare-free living.
yeah.
So
And I
I
think
think
you'll definitely get the sense that that is happening throughout the land.
okay.
So,
Yeah,
and the thing is, I think you'll be able to see that in some cases, it's people. Some people are actually working through some of their issues via these nightmares.
okay. So it's working. But I imagine there's some negative consequences to having some nightmares, even watered down nightmares running around.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
When you have them and your neighbors don't, and when these things start to manifest and people think that you're summoning imps or something and they kill you because you're a witch, that's one problem. And then, oh God, everybody's having it. I wish we hadn't hung our friends.
Right.
That's a common thing.
It makes it very hard to evaluate the educational system when
It does.
this is happening.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're having nightmares about the people you murdered because you thought they were summoning imps.
Yeah.
Right.
There is a little bit of a snowball effect there of guilt and nightmares and things. But there are people that like are fighting back against that trauma. It tends to be younger people. One of the things you will definitely get is that whatever whatever is happening, uh, doesn't seem to hurt young people. Like they do have these manifestations and things like that, but it's weaker with them. And they kind of get through smaller issues.
Fascinating. So Evedro is quite keen to enfranchise more people with greater knowledge and wider knowledge. And so he is pressing up against the angels, the fallen angels systems here in an attempt to establish other schools and other ways for people to learn. And I think he's doing it. He's wise enough now that he's being cautious, where he's just sort of pressing to see where he can make some inroads.
I think with your apotheosis and other things like that, you realize that you're going to need to do this informally and underground. That if you create a structured institution of knowledge, that the government, the leaders, the kingdom will come in and kick it over.
That's exactly what I was hoping. So I'm going to start working on that.
Okay.
Can one spend Dominion subtly? Like, is that a?
Yeah. I mean, Dominion doesn't have to be. One of the things is we don't. There's no sense that Dominion, like, it goes from a particular person. Yeah, you can make those changes. You're enacting those changes with your gift.
Okay. I had another idea of something else happening to Evedro, which was that maybe back at the school on Barshala, he's gotten voted out. The board has voted him out as the head of the school. I think there's been sort of a coup in the faculty.
They voted Ordevi in.
No, there's some keen awareness that it's a package deal. And maybe that's why. But I feel like I don't know if they can do this with a god, though, because in a sense they're students and faculty, but they're also his followers and worshipers. But if it's going to happen to anyone, it's going to happen to Evedro.
I think it's that eventually there is a day when Yashad comes to you, and he has with him Tintefa.
Oh yeah, my old friend.
And they sit you down, Evedro, and they say, your research is suffering. Your studies are suffering. We would like to ask you to take a sabbatical from your work here. You do so much, but it is clear that even you have your limits, and being tied here as you are works against it. We would like you to set yourself a 2-year span to devote yourself to what it is you need to learn and to extend the reach of the school further out.
They waited, obviously, till midnight to do this.
Yes.
I had sort of imagined that it all went down while he was away, that it was sort of a coup while he wasn't there, but I like.
Yeah. We've already told people that you'll be doing this. We anticipated that you would want to do this, and we know that you haven't had a chance to do a number of things. I know that Evedro has been traveling and has been away from Tunisia for a very long time. We think that this will give you greater opportunities.
Tef is ready for, or even Ordevi to fight back, or even Ordevi's like, you know me very well, and I am very distracted at the moment. There's 1 or 2 things happening in the world that require my attention. But at the end of that 2 years, I will come back and I will resume my duties as the head of this fine institution.
We will have that conversation when that happens. Absolutely.
We will have the conversation about me coming back. Right.
100%. And I think it is that as they leave, you can tell that Yashad has pulled out like a purse of some kind and is handing it over to Tintefa as if to say that some sort of bet was won there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Let's take our first break because we are on the hour. And then when I come back, I want to talk with Ethan and see what we've got figured out and see how we can rope things together. So let's take 10 and we're back. All right. Ethan, what are you thinking for the words that you're going to want for your character? And then let's talk about who you imagine your character as.
Okay. So actually maybe I'll do that in the other order.
Sure.
So I think my basic concept is that this person was like kind of a back alley doctor, the person who would like stitch up your wounds if you got in a sword fight you didn't want anybody to know you got into. Didn't ask too many questions, would treat absolutely anybody. And eventually realized that they were so good at that because they had, magical health skills. And I think this is someone who's traveled around a lot. Maybe as a kid, or maybe more recently, I don't know. And so they've sort of picked up this ability. Again, they thought it was just, picked up this ability to navigate in any city, anywhere, and like blend in easily. But actually, turns out that, there's maybe a little bit of supernatural about that ability. And yeah, also they can talk to animals somehow. So yeah, my 3 words, I might take another one.
Okay.
But are health, beasts, and cities.
So have traveled around, have been from city to city. How old are you imagining them?
I guess like middle-aged. I think nobody can really tell.
Mm-hmm.
They're just sort of adult.
Okay. And like you say that you kind of figured out that there was something different about you, you know, later on. Like, was it when you were a teen or when you were, an adult doing this, or what do you
I
think?
think adult. I think they had been like kind of yeah, moving around a lot, various cities, had no like really close to anybody. Basically they weren't really comparing themselves to anybody else. So so like the stuff seemed sort of normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they, like, okay, yeah, let me actually think about this for a minute. This is not normal. This is clearly obviously weird.
Do you think that, like, in terms of becoming a healer, doing this kind of thing, was that something that you were trained in, or did you just kind of fall in it, was it instinctually or something else?
I think that they had some like really basic like first aid training and built on that. Uh and we're just like extremely good at it somehow.
Uh, what do you think you're on the run from? What kind of
That's a
thing?
good question. Definitely on the run, but hmm. Yeah, see, this would help if I actually knew the world a little better. Um,
Do you think that, you know, you've encountered this dark heart of the woods and it's kind of spotted you, or were you in Gesnia when the angels started teaching kids sorcery and cracking down on other people, or were you in the country to the south when the undead dragon came in? And
you know what? All of the above.
okay, like it's been a
They've moved
chain.
around a lot. They just have terrible luck. As soon as they get somewhere, something terrible happens and they have to move on.
Yeah. So
Like
yeah.
the anti-Forrest Gump, you know.
Okay.
Then you show up. Now we're
If a
like,
bad
oh,
thing
no.
happened in history, they're always one of the like bystanders about to get a building dropped on them.
So you were in a place that kind of fell to this corrupting, weird, jungle incursion, that kind of, and you managed to catch a boat and headed across, over, to, Arwenshaw, to Ghaznaki, beautiful city, people, and within a few weeks, the shadow of this dragon fell over the city, and you were forced out, and you had to run out into the countryside, and you spent the next long while helping people, getting them safe, healing them, but getting them away from this growing undead hordes. Uh, then you went on this incredibly dangerous journey across, the Bridge of Furies, which is basically a great land bridge that is constantly struck by lightning. But you made it through into Gesnia, which seemed like a better place. And then he went to the capital and kind of started to do things there. And then there were people hunting you. And you could tell that they weren't natural, that they weren't human. And you asked around and you said, where is the place if I want to get away from here? Uh, and somebody said, well, there are some new gods, and they are living in a bookstore on this island offshore. So you should go there.
Yeah. I think I mean, if someone were watching this character, like they wouldn't know whether to come to the conclusion that like they were, a great heroic person who shows up just when a horrible disaster is happening and helps everybody, or if they're cursed and they show up and this horrible disaster happens, and then they help everybody and then run away.
Absolutely.
It's both, you know, like both, like that happens, but I don't think they know why it happens.
What do you think you
Maybe it's
look
just
like?
That's a very good question.
Clothing or weapons or anything like that?
Well, let's see. So one of the things is the ability to like blend in. It goes with the city's word. So I think like aggressively ordinary.
Okay.
Like this is a person who can stand in the middle of the street and disappear, not through any like invisibility skills, because they're just that boring.
Okay. And so you would make your way to Bashala. You would see this town pretty thriving with a number of docks, some of them very nice wood, clean, like clearly have been built or rebuilt in the last year. They have a number of really large, like storm breakers out here. It's a very well presented place. It's a good crossroads. You see the ships and flags of a variety of places that you know about, and you would go in, and uh, eventually you would ask, and someone would say, "Oh, you want to go up the road, follow it all the way up. There'll be a bridge, and you can't miss it." Um, and as you would walk across these raised barriers, you would notice that there were these crocodiles swimming underneath them, kind of following along beside you, watching you, like waiting for you to fall in. And but then eventually you would make your way up towards the assassin's library. And Ransom, I think it is that there is a gull that comes to you and perches on your windowsill and says, my lord, my lord. It's a gull, so it has to say it like 5 or 6 times in the same voice.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's a god coming. There's a god coming. There's a god coming.
Oh, really? Interesting. Well, I suppose we should welcome them. Thank you. And I will reach into my pouch and throw a sardine to them. Yeah, you might have heard some talking birds. There's a flock of about 1,000 talking birds down there.
Yeah, there are birds everywhere that you go as you're walking along. They're all good.
I will send word quickly about to everyone as I head down to the entryway to see this new god. Wonder if it's a threat or a friend, but most threats don't just walk up to the front door.
Threadless, when you get word, when one of the little birds comes over and tells you this, flies in through the window.
Oh yeah, I think she'll go.
You hop on your bicycle and ride
Hop on my
down.
bicycle and get to like the closest entrance to the thing, and then yeah, it's the fastest way. And I'll probably stop and get Unsonic too.
Okay.
So.
And this is during the day, Evedro. Do you? Someone comes, Professor.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes, I am speaking to you, Professor Vedro. I was told to bring you a message that there is a god that is coming up to the front doors.
There's gods all over this place.
Then I have delivered my message, correct? Thank you. And runs away.
I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
And Tassos, it's probably one of the cats that comes over and says, There was a very nice person coming.
Coming here?
Yes. Towards the front. We like them.
Very, very nice.
We like them.
Why do you like them?
They are friend to all our kind.
To cats?
They are friend to all our kind.
Oh, well. That's not terrible then. Wait, who's famous enough of a person to be known to all cats? Besides me.
I couldn't say.
Except the person that's coming up towards here.
Yes.
Are you gonna be any less mysterious? Nope, okay.
That's our universal sign of we're done with this conversation. Do you head there, Tassos? Or do you think other people will handle? Okay.
No, I think he'll turn into a drippy smoke bird and caw in an unsettling, echoey way and go flapping off towards wherever.
So, what's your character's name, Ethan?
Well, I did pick something. Darius.
Darius, you are walking up, kind of come around this road that goes up a hill, and very distinct from the town down there, there is another like settlement of people here who it's beautiful, like it's very well built, shockingly well built houses here, and people working, some of them making paper, some of them, kind of doing scribe work and things. And you kind of will see past them up another set of stairs is a great bridge, a massive, huge, this building. How did you not see this from the shoreline? How did you not see this from the town? It's wild. And it is like somebody threw and jammed together 12 different buildings there, and none of them are completely straight. They're all just a little like 2, 3, 4 degrees off. And as you cross this bridge, you'll see that there are these alcoves on the sides, these chambers where you see that there are scholars with stacks of books transcribing things. And as you walk up, you'll see that there's a huge metal door that is standing open, almost like a safe door, but it is open now, and it actually kind of looks like it's been propped open for a bit, and you will see some people coming and going, but you will see that there are a set of people kind of standing and waiting and attention. Ransom, describe yourself again for us on camera. What does Darius see?
Ransom is tall, athletically built. There is a picture down there. He's got great abs. Long flowing black hair. He's a handsome guy. He wears a long coat with his cutlass to his side. Probably on his shoulder, you will see there is a ferret. He has a very flashy hat with a huge plume. And might catch, he's thin and angular, but really noticeable is his eyes. They are a little towards the golden edge, kind of almost like a bird. And they are very piercing and sharp. But he has a massive smile on his face as you're walking up.
And Threadless, what do you look like?
I think she looks like an 18-year-old girl, and really more girl than woman in a lot of ways. She's very young, and that's very clear. And she's dressed in exquisite clothing. Like, it's well made, but like the fabric is what is supremely beautiful about it as much as anything. And she sort of has extravagantly full red hair. But one of the things is you can tell that like some of the things that she wears are sentimental signifiers. Like you very much have the feeling that she's wearing gifts and that's more important to her in a lot of ways than anything else. And she does have a bow on her back. So.
And they both seem like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the third one, Dyrus, that strikes you. Tassos, what does Darius see?
You see this sort of melting shadow crow come flapping down and sort of hits the ground and a bit liquidly like expands out into a black deep midnight panther sized cat with glowing white eyes. And again, oh no, never mind, it's all for
So what we said was you saw the nightmare figure and you turned around and noped out. So what is your reaction like to this? Now you're pretty high level, so you've been around, you've seen shit, and so on. What do you think your reaction when you see these people that you recognize as being definitely magical, powerful, potent, and maybe even divine in the same way that you maybe are beginning to suspect you are?
I think can you have magical imposter syndrome?
Yeah. I imagine that's absolutely right. Yeah. Do you stop? Do you continue forward? What do you do?
No, I mean, I came here because like no, I mean, I'll walk up to them and realize at that point I don't really have anything planned. I just kind of was told to come here. That seemed like a good idea. Here I am. And yet, I think so. Wait, who all do I see here? There's
Captain Ransom, Threadless, and Tassos, the shadow being.
The shadow being. Okay, cool.
And our dragon child, who's really pretty.
He's standing back, wings, kind of watching this.
Okay.
Looking at you.
Yeah, I think I just like kind of look one to the next, to the next. Greetings. I was told that I could find people who knew how to use great powers here. And I look at the shadow creature and I'm like, I can see I was not led wrong.
I think that is true. We could tell someone who has divine power, right? We could sort of sense it.
I think if they aren't trying to hide it at this level, then you can sense it.
I want to say that I like am always trying to hide it. That from like until recently, I was hiding it from myself, like pretending that all these things. So like if there is a person who is innately able to hide their powers, it's me. But I have no idea if that's a thing this game allows. So
now, I like to imagine, I think that you could tell that there's something weird about them, that they're dampening it down. They definitely have some divinity to them.
would Darius have followers or worshippers at this point, given their high level?
I don't think they've stayed in one place long. I think that what they've done is like showed up, done some really cool, miraculous seeming stuff to help people out in the wake of these natural disasters or not unnatural disasters that seem to follow them, and then left. So they've probably like left people who were like talking about them a lot, but no actual followers who went with them.
There's the legend of the healer who travels the land, who comes to us in our time of need and then moves on. He does not ask for anything except for simple food and water, and then is gone.
Have you found that you have powers yourself?
Yes. Until recently, I didn't realize that not everyone could talk to animals.
Not everyone
and
can
have
talk
them
to
talk
animals.
Back. Everyone can talk to animals, but
do you feel like you have a fatalistic inevitability growing from a seed of darkness within you that will eventually crack open the world, spilling its darkness and ending onto everything and anything that it touches?
Now that you mention it,
Oh.
That's not exactly the way I would put it, but kind of.
Oh, specificity may be important in this situation
then. Not that is not a prerequisite, but you have come to a place.
The world, but yes, definitely seed of something that could cause great destruction. I hadn't thought about the world, though. That's a whole new thing to worry about.
I think we can help you. This is Threadless, Tassos. I am Ransom. Welcome, and please come in. I think we have much to talk about.
And I do like to imagine that Professor Vedro would cut to you like you were supposed to be an 11:30 meeting with the group. You're up in the office. They're not there. You're now like 5-10 minutes late. They haven't come.
With the Pantheon or with
the Pantheon. They were supposed to be up here. There should be a brief discussion of things that have been learned, but they haven't shown up yet.
Yeah, I don't know why I set times for meetings if people are not going to adhere to those times. But did someone say something about a god? Maybe I should let me go see if I can find them and just remind them about the value of punctuality and adhering to promises and commitments.
So the three of you are walking along with Darius. Big halls, weird architecture in here. You will see there are clearly students here that are kind of looking. They kind of avoid the group, not out of any kind of fear, but more out of honor. And then there are some other people heavily armed who are kind of moving around doing things. And as they're beginning to kind of orient you to this Assassin's Library, I think you will see an older man come down out of a stairwell, looking around. And Ransom, you will see Evedro coming, and you know exactly that you know with the time, you know exactly what Evedro is about to say.
Oh, damn. Evedro, very sorry. I know that we were supposed to be upstairs, but...
Professor, you're just in time. This is Darius. They're a beast of the impending apocalypse.
That is not exactly how they introduce themselves. We have a guest who may have powers similar to our own.
You know, you can throw a stone in here and hit someone with powers. Is there something, what I'm interested in is, can you teach? We have a bit of a shortage. We are looking for faculty members. And what can you do? What do you teach? Have you worked with the young people before?
I've delivered babies.
That's a little younger
Very
than
young.
our average student. Are you saying that
I've stitched up wounds in teenagers who were throwing rocks at each other?
Oh, that's great. We have an entire section for midwifery. So it would be wonderful if you could assist there.
are you a healer?
Yes.
I've been thinking about adding a medical school to the university. Do you think you could run something like that?
I'm not sure I can teach what I can do. I can teach someone to set a bone, but I think that's not what you're talking about.
As soon as you get into a classroom, it just comes very naturally. It'll just happen. It'll be fine. This is great. We have really needed to expand our offerings. I'm going to talk to the rest of the faculty.
Eventro, you may be putting the cart ahead of the horse a trifle. We've just met Darius. We really haven't established what Darius is here for.
Ransom, have you delivered a baby?
They're going to be very busy cracking the surface of the world.
Not perhaps, Darius, we should find somewhere comfortable and learn more about you before we put you into a staff position and worry about the crust of the planet.
That seems wise. Okay.
And what do you say?
Actually, a question. Do any of the students who are avoiding everybody or avoiding this group have any like injuries or deformities or anything?
Oh, absolutely. You're probably a couple of, people who this is a fairly rough and tumble school because they're also receiving assassins training
right,
in
that's
some
what
cases.
Like, there's gonna be some missing limbs or something here.
Yeah.
The first person I see, walking by who's, injured in some way. Liberal arts college and assassins go good, excellent. This is maybe it's something pretty obvious probably.
Yeah, let's say somebody is missing several fingers on one of their hands.
Yeah, cool. I would like to try out one of my abilities here.
Okay. And what is that ability?
That is Flesh Made True. It's a lesser health gift, and I am able to cure a target's maimings, blindings, poisons, mutilations, and birth defects by sight once per round. This does not heal hit point damage, but it can restore lost limbs and crippled functionality.
And this is literally a gesture to do this. So what do we see happen? Like, what's the visible signs of this health miracle being invoked here?
So this is a gift that I was kind of unaware I had for a long time, although I think it's become very obvious and even I can't pretend I don't have it anymore. But I don't think there's anything flashy about it.
You just point and it happens?
Yeah, I think I just turn and look and sort of make a gesture like I'm putting my hand over, the hand that's missing fingers, but not actually anywhere near the person. And as they walk away, you can see two small fingers start to grow into place.
And like the person who's doing this, what do they feel it, or is it to just happen, or
I
is it,
think they don't feel it at first, and then they scream and drop whatever they're carrying and like freak out.
Yeah, you'll see their friends come running over to them, and you'll see one of the kids who lost their fingers early on. They are back.
Well, I'll be.
And I
Sorry, what were
do
you
think
saying?
that you see it. It is Threadless who walks over to him. She goes, "Don't worry, it's just divine magic." Okay. To the kids.
And I say, and now you don't have an excuse not to turn in that paper. So
Ramble, picking things up, rushing back to his rooms.
Darius said it's very impressive.
Yeah, it's always had a knack, but it's gotten a lot easier in the past few months.
And you say you speak to animals. Is that some? Did you say that to me?
Yeah, I've always done that. Rats mostly, pigeons, raccoons, things that small creatures that you see in any city, but also larger animals, but I'd see them less commonly.
I speak to cats.
Cats are very good. Cats are great conversationalists when they want to be. They see a lot.
I speak to birds and fish. They tend to not be great conversationalists. Octopi,
See,
though.
I've come to the
very
right
smart.
place. Everyone here speaks to animals.
And I think by now, usher into a place where it's comfortable. We're famous for our tea, so we'll have that brought in. And I suppose a quick kind of explanation of, what this place is and that what we are in it would be in order.
Yes, I heard several conflicting explanations from people in town. So,
and I'll tell you basically, or we, I think probably as a group, tell you that, we develop powers. We've come here. We have formed a pantheon. I think I'm certainly very commonly saying I'm a god. I don't know how much the others say it, but and give an idea that the school, the Assassin's Guild, and I think I'll kind of pitch out what Ransom's being a little interested, maybe other people to push conversation to have other things. But Ransom's trying to figure out if you're like a good person or are going to be a danger.
I think the answers you get are also conflicting because I show up and then, something terrible happens is a threat. But and then I stick around and help out for a while is not a threat.
Yeah, there is a litany of disasters that Darius can read through, and some in your local area that they happen to be present on, but then they describe how they helped out.
And book is my purview,
that's when I
so I
discovered that
could
I
tell
could
if he
regrow
was
limbs.
actually cursed, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, so I think she kind of goes, you aren't cursed. You may have very poor timing, or it may just be that these are times of great turmoil. I would vote for turmoil.
I was about to say that was good to know, but actually that seems worse.
At least you don't have to blame yourself for what is happening. We have some vague and undeveloped plans to address some of those sources of turmoil. But in the meantime, if you wish to stay here and teach classes, or just wait for the next bit of turmoil, sounds good to me.
Could this place use a staff medic?
It is a place where there's
Difficult
assassins
to teach
training,
something when I don't know
so
how I do it.
how good are you with poisons?
Let me check my character sheet and find out here.
Flesh made true can completely eliminate poisons.
Excellent. I'm immune to them, so that's good.
Oh, so you're immune to them. All right. Well, that might be good. The kids can practice with you. I just said that out loud. I'm sorry.
It's like sort of
like
blank. I'm not going to admit how doubtful I am about that one.
I just mean that your skills could be very useful here. I did not mean to imply that you have some obligation to defy death on a daily basis.
I suppose so. There is some degree of obligation to at least what we feel like has occurred to us. As a group, we've been trying to help people. If indeed we are gods and we have a pantheon, and the absence of gods in this world is ending, and we found that there are other gods with less kindness, with different philosophies. But we as a group have been trying to help people. Would you like to help people?
That's why I'm here. I've found that I've been helping people, but not just more or less by trial and error, sort of fumbling into it. And I would like to focus that.
I think we're going to stop here. We got our new character brought in because this is kind of a session 0. We'll start next time with kind of like seeing what you've been up to in the next week or so, kind of getting that montage of that and what other people are doing, and then looking at like where the Pantheon's attention is. Giving you a chance for RP and all of that. Does that seem fair? I would like to stop though and get a quick round of any wishes that you have, things that you definitely want to see here as a chance, which stories are more interesting to you or things you want to get to, that kind of thing. Like what is it that you want? So Tyler, if I hit you with the kind of the just the wishes part of Stars and Wishes, what do you want to throw here?
Well, I went back and I listened to our last 3 real quickly today. Well, almost last 3. We have one missing in there. Our penultimate didn't make it through, which is strange. And we skip in number. I mean, it doesn't have a missed number. It's just not present. It goes from 21 to 22, but we're missing 21.5.
Oh, so that actually an episode skipped there?
Yeah. It's the one where we do our getting to the other country and finding out things before we do the battle, which is the one at the end. But having gone through, of course, we had been playing a while, so momentum was all behind us, and we were very excited about things. And there was, when we wished out kind of in that one, the dragon was on our agenda, but also like the corrupting forest, the the big nasty weird encounter, and I don't want us to forget that one, because
Right.
that does seem very interesting, and we were really having, we had deep feels about that one. So I would like to see that. I also would like to, on a personal level, I wouldn't mind kind of maybe formalizing, maybe making Lasha my girlfriend or
Okay.
whatever. And I also and for a complication, I have the move that would let me, protect her and make her tougher, and that she wouldn't die as long as I'm alive. But that could be an awkward question, and it comes down to, is she a follower of mine, which is weird in
Yeah.
itself for a romance. So that whole mess of interpersonal stuff, I wouldn't mind getting a chance to explore.
Okay. Sherry?
I do want to have our eyes on what's going on over across the sea. I do think Gesnia and the dragon and the jungle, the dark jungle, are all very dangerous. We're aware of them. But this game is also a ton of fun when you're just doing crazy god things too. So you don't have to always be clashing. So there's all kinds of problems to solve. So I'm happy. I'm glad to have Ethan with us. A dedicated healer, because all I can do is give back some hit points and make them feel like they aren't so sleepy. And so that's great. Then I can concentrate on people having babies if they want them and that sort of thing. So.
Awesome. Tassos.
Yeah, as far as like the big threads out there in the world to start off with, I'm definitely interested in Gesnia and the siblings and all of that sort of thing, as well as the the sower, the dark growth force out there. That's sort of what I was referencing with the, like, do you feel a dark apocalypse growing within you sort of thing with Darius there. Um, and also, speaking of Darius, we all have this world that we've painted with our crazy influence and past. And I know Darius like claims they feel like they haven't made a lot of impact in the world or left anything behind them. But I'd love to see some evidence, some parts of Darius's past and past exploits show up and echo into what we're doing here.
Accidental world facts. Evedra or Debbie?
This was great. It's so good to be back into it. Ethan, I'm so glad you're here with us because I think you will enjoy it. And we will enjoy having you. Evedro had a burgeoning romance with a ghost, and I feel the need to resolve that in this last arc. Also, Evedro needs to grow as a person. And I remember I had imagined a whole arc for him, and I can't now remember what that was. So maybe I'll look back in the notes or the video or something and see if I can figure that out. But opportunities for Evedra to grow, another wish. And I am keen on really any of these challenges, but I do think I would be really interested in sort of figuring out the fallen angel and the kind of strife in Gesnia in particular.
And Darius, Ethan.
I really love how weird this world is, even if that makes it sort of hard to grasp, like sort of hard to take cues from anything because it's so weird. I still love that it's so weird. Yeah, these characters are equally weird, and I love it. Stars to Patrick for just like coming out with the creepiest and most unhinged things to say.
Yeah, you're going to be saying that a lot.
Playing along with that. I mean, you know, the God of Nightmares, of course, says creepy and unhinged things all the time.
That's what I've been saying.
The session that he demanded this captain turn over two of his crew people because they were having nightmares. It was. Those are mine.
I was just saying that those independent human beings belong to me.
Everyone who has nightmares belongs. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Great. Awesome.
Well, it is fun. One of the things I'm very excited about is this is a group with very different visions about what that divinity means, about what it implies for them, what it implies for the world, that kind of thing. So I'm really excited. I think it feels like you have another kind of perspective on it.
Yeah, or well, okay, so I don't really have a huge perspective on it. I'm just you know, figuring it out as I go.
Yep.
My perspective on it at the moment is a lack of perspective on it.
Like creeping awareness.
Yeah, which is kind of what I want to do with the character. So it works out. Creeping awareness is exactly what I was going for.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much. I'm going to stop this session 0 recording now.